Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for joining me this week. So this week I'm going to be talking about all of the different types of rubrics. So if you're interested in this topic, then please keep on watching. Okay, so this week I'm going to be talking about all the different types of rubrics, and rubrics are normally criterion reference type of assessment, which means that we look at descriptors and criteria and then we match student learning and evidence of student learning with those descriptors. This is as opposed to norm referenced assessment where we compare students with one another. And when we compare students with one another, we normally we use a normal distribution, and we'll have people in the middle, we'll have people at the top and people at the end because students are being compared with one another. Now, in a criterion reference assessment system, we don't compare students with one another, but we compare students according to specific criteria and descriptors. So let me just make myself a little bit smaller and explain some of the different types of rubrics that we can have. And I'm going to just look at criterion reference ones that are qualitative in nature. Okay, so the first question that we ask is who inputs? Is it a teacher-generated rubric? Is it co-created with your students? Or is it a student-generated rubric? And I think it gives students more ownership over their learning and agency when they are asked to create their own rubrics. However, most students do not know how to create their own rubrics, so we do need to be very explicit in teaching our students the skills to be able to develop a high-quality rubric. And I'll release another video on how to guide students explicitly to create their own rubrics at a later stage. But once you've decided who inputs, then we go to the next question, how much detail? So a holistic rubric just looks at the piece of work or the evidence of learning as a whole, whereas an analytical rubric has more criterion, so more descriptors, different components, and then the levels for each of those components. So there is a little bit more detail in an analytical. And a single point is really an offshoot of an analytical, where you're just taking one section of the analytical rubric, and then you're reporting back on that single point, that single descriptor there for the different components. And in a single point, you can either give lots of feedback in terms of what students could do to improve and their strength areas. And there's been some really good articles to help us understand holistic, analytical, and single point. One is Katie Novak's article that she released in, I think it was March this year. I'm going to put a link in the section below to her blog article. And also Jennifer Gonzalez from the Cult of Pedagogy. She's got an excellent article breaking down and explaining the three with examples as well. So I'll put a link to those two great articles in the comment section below. The next question you ask yourself is it about the content? So is it really about the content of mathematics, for example, and the practices, skills, or is it both? So as an example, we could be very task specific, and it could be looking at specific understandings that come from the content of that particular task, or it could be very general, such as problem solving. That could be a very important dimension that you may want to choose when you're putting together a general math rubric. It's to do with problem solving. Is it to do with collaboration? Is it to do with modeling in general? Or is it task specific? So that means that you're going to look at the task specifically and look for and identify success criteria based on the particular task. So these are kind of the questions and the levels that you need to ask yourself before you're even thinking about putting together and designing a rubric. There are lots of wonderful websites as well that will help us design this. I think Rubistar is one that's been around for a long time. If you use any other websites that help you to create and design rubrics, please put it in the comment section below. Thank you so much for joining me again this week, and I hope to see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye.